How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Capital Mindset Show. So today's going to be kind of an announcement video, kind of describing a couple of things of what's changing, as well as a big announcement towards the end of the video. Well, actually, two big announcements towards the end of the video. One that has been requested by a bunch of you already, and another one that's kind of, needed to be made. Okay. So the first part of this video, I'll be discussing the prevalence of what I would call the fraud YouTubers. Okay. And what I mean by that is within the finance YouTube community, I'd say there's a bunch of creators that, let's say there's a spectrum of fraud, right? One being no fraud at all, then the other being overt fraud. And then a lot of them are in the middle somewhere. So it's not to say that, it's illegal fraud or anything like that. What I'm trying to say is basically they're almost fraud, right? They're approaching, they're teetering towards the edge of it. Where they're basically espousing information that may not be accurate or is quite irresponsible to provide to the retail investor. And I don't believe, for example, that there should be any form of censorship. Just simply put that I think, good information will over time outweigh the bad information. But over the longer term, it may cause harm to some individuals who take their information too seriously. Okay. While I do think in the short term, some of the benefits that have been provided by Finance YouTube was getting a lot of retail investors engaged in the investment process. I think longer term, it may cause some deficiencies in some of the returns, and then may lead to actually some individuals not participating in the markets at all. And we may get the same sentiment that we had in the past, where some people might say the stock market is just gambling, right? And that would be very unfortunate. Okay, so with that being said, there is a channel that I would love to shout out, okay? And they actually hosted me on their show, so you may already know who it is. And I recommend you guys go give them a follow. If you guys already don't, they're a bigger channel than this one. And it's Strongman Personal Finance. So what Strongman does, his name is Chris. He's a CPA, so he's well-versed in accounting. What Strongman focuses on is calling out and basically policing in some degree the finance YouTube community. Right. So this channel won't go into overtly calling out names, but he will, right? He's definitely the fighter, and he's basically holding the banner for everyone who thinks that the finance YouTube community should be held to some sort of standard. And I think he's going to be growing and growing and growing into that role as kind of like the watchdog of the finance YouTube community. And that's very good. We need that. Okay. It's good to hold people who create content accountable. And I think he's going to do a fantastic job, and he is doing a fantastic job. Okay. So some other things I'd like to talk about is kind of related. Both are kind of related. So the prevalence of the bull market that we're currently in, and I'll start with this. I don't know when it's going to end. Okay. I have some ideas, some that we may be going to experience an end sometime soon, but I don't have a set date, and I won't pretend to know a set date. So please don't come to this channel thinking I have a set date for you, because no one really will. Those who claim to know a set date will, if they get it right, they'll get lucky, because the system is so complicated, so vast, that it's very difficult for us to pinpoint exactly the point of conjecture where something will occur. Okay. So on that note, I'll discuss different investment avenues that you may have noticed I don't really discuss here on the channel. But it's not that I disagree with them. Okay. And that would be ETFs or index investing. Right. And so what do I mean by that? That you may have noticed I don't maybe like it. Right. Well, for me personally, I don't hold any ETFs. Right. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't. Okay. So there's a common lesson I try to preach on this channel, and it's honesty with oneself. Okay. It's a very difficult thing to do, but if mastered, is very potent, because at the end of the day, the only person who you're accountable for is you and those closest to you. Okay. But it begins with honesty with oneself, which is harder than what most people realize. And that honesty begins with the questions with pertaining to investing is, do you have the ability, the time to dedicate in order to outperform? And if the answer is yes, then maybe you need to educate yourself. And then the second question comes, are you educated enough? Those kind of coincide with one another. Are you educated enough? Do you have enough confidence in yourself to outperform the market? Do you think you can do it? And then that's the key, honesty with yourself. Then the second one is, if you're honest and you say, it's not really for you, then that's fine. Or maybe you want a mixture approach. There's an infinite ways to organize a portfolio, an infinite ways. So you can have, 10% in single stocks and then the rest in index funds, or the reverse, 10% in index funds, 90% of stocks, or 100% index funds, 100% stocks. And then you just look at stocks for fun, right? You just want to keep track of them for fun. Okay. There's a whole plethora of different strategies that you, at the end of the day, are the only one who knows if it's good or right for you. Okay. So the three pillars that I would like to discuss about index funds is perhaps the reasons why they're good. They're a good product, right? And the first one is psychology. The probability that the average investor, the average retail investor, will hold through during volatility is low. Okay. Index funds provide a sense, or maybe the mirage of stability. Okay. And the point is, it doesn't matter if it's real or not real. The point is, if you think it's real, then you will act in a certain way, right? So even if they're not as stable as, they might be or might be thought of, the fact that you think they are and the way they're organized and the way they behave will make it so that you behave in a certain way as an investor, as in you don't sell in the wrong moments. Okay. And for example, if you think of it like an account that you just shove money into and you dollar cost average over time, no matter what, that's the things that, for example, Warren Buffett advocates, Jack Bogle advocates. Those strategies over time will be fruitful to a degree, right? And I'm not saying it's a get rich quick. It's definitely not. It's get rich very slowly over time. And it's a way to preserve what you've worked so hard. Because remember, Warren Buffett, he says it. What's rule number one? Don't lose money. What's rule number two? Don't forget rule number one. Capital preservation is very important. Anthony Deaton, those who may not know who that is, famously says, it is way easier to make money than it is to keep it. Okay. Remember that quote, way easier to make money than it is to keep it, right? So your primary goal should be capital preservation. Above all else, it is more important. Again, now we're quoting Howard Marks. We're just quoting everyone. Howard Marks says it's more important to look at the downside than it is to look at the upside. Okay. So just a couple food for thought. And then the second part is taxes, right? So ETFs, index funds, are tax efficient modes of investing. If, for example, you had a non-retirement account, you don't sell ever, right? You're not going to incur as many tax liabilities. Okay, sure, you may incur a dividend tax, right? But that's at some point you will. And then you won't incur, though, the capital gains tax as long as you don't sell. Now, there were some, proposed changes to that, and that would have actually destroyed that argument. However, they didn't go through. But then there's always tax advantage accounts. So, you can always do that. But I won't get into that. That's not this kind of video. And then the last part kind of coincides with the psychology, which is the added or the sense of stability. And that affects the psychology. So I already kind of discussed that. So we won't go too deep into that. All right. So then I'll actually like to discuss a couple ETF examples, just very briefly. You guys may have already seen these before. And the first one I'll discuss is perhaps the most popular for the total stock market index fund, but focused in the United States. I'm going to highlight some key parts here. And Vanguard's the one I'm using because they are the most famous one. So I'll just use them. Very low expense ratio, right? That's what you kind of actually want. You want to pay as little as possible for quality. A lot of ETFs copy one another. So just get the one that pays the least amount. And then you keep more of your money, right? Okay, so the point of what I'm going to highlight here is this is basically the entirety of the United States, including the small caps of the United States, right? And so if we take a look here at the top 10 largest holdings, they are, the largest companies in the United States. The reason why, and I think this deserves its own video, if you guys would like to know the intricacies of how these are designed, I will dedicate one video to it, okay? Or maybe more if you guys need more. But the point is, here, the largest companies in the United States are what make up this index, right? And then let's move over to VOO. You see the exact same thing because ETFs are generally market cap weighted. Now, you may be thinking that if you're kind of thinking outside the box there sounds like there could be a problem there. And that's the topic for another video, okay? But the point is you can kind of see what they hold, right? You can go on their website and you can see all their holdings, etc. By the way, there's nothing stopping you from copying them, but you have to be honest with yourself. Are you going to be able to perfectly copy them? Because there's always going to be a performance delta between you and the ETF because they're going to be shifting around positions. So be aware of that. And then there's this one. This is the one that Chris at his channel advocates for the most. And I'm going to kind of back him up on this as to the reasons why you might consider this one over the other ones, even though the performance on the other ones has been better in the past, right? First, I'll start with this. Past performance is not indicative of future performance, okay? So what you're getting with the VT is the entirety of the world. It takes Jack Bogle's philosophy and takes it to its extreme and says the entire market. You want to own the entire market? You own the entire market. So this allows basically the world to kind of settle itself through, and then you're just participating in the economic growth and expansion of the whole globe, not just one individual country. Now, there's a plethora of reasons as to why you would want to do this. Well, one would be because you don't want geography risk. Geography risk is very real. And there are times in which the local markets outperform, where foreign markets outperform. So you won't have to worry about those fluctuations, right? Well, you'll worry about some of the fluctuations because it all evens out over time, but that's the point. It evens out over time. So VT is a very good wealth preservation vehicle in which you are essentially just putting it into the globe and you're just betting on humanity as a whole, right? So that is the added benefit of VT, okay? So with that being said, I kind of want to go into the cautionary note as to, not to be doom and gloom, but some caution going forward. We are, perhaps at the closer end of the bull cycle. As we can see, I'll actually take us right back to the ETFs. We had outperformance in the past years, way higher than the historical performance or the average performance since inception. So you should note that perhaps going forward, a lot of these indexes are not going to return the same amount. Okay. They may or may not. I will not sit here and claim to know one or the other, but I'm saying the possibility. Do not be surprised if it doesn't. Okay. So like I said in the cryptocurrency video, the point of that video was to educate on the possibility of something, not the certainty of something, and why you shouldn't be surprised, and to try to explain the mechanism as to how it would happen. So here I'm basically saying the same thing. Don't be surprised if they don't perform as they did in the past, because if we return to the average performance, that would mean that we either have to go down a lot or the performance from here on out will be fairly terrible. Okay. So that's just a cautionary note. And then I guess I'll move on to the role of this channel. Okay. So you might be saying, okay, well, you don't invest in ETFs. Well, what's the point of this channel? Why are you saying that some people should? Well, everyone's different, right? And so what's good for me may not be good for you. What's good for you may not be good for me, right? So the role of this channel is always going to be to provide you guys with quality research, quality educational opportunities as to how to look at different companies. And again, to just provide all this information out here on the nether, which is YouTube, in which case you guys can submit requests and I look into them. Again, with the added new rules, I'll go over them right now. The new rules are, please do not recommend any micro caps. I will not be going over them unless there's a unique lesson to learn from them, right? If you think there's a unique lesson to learn from them, submit it anyways, and then I may or may not cover it. That's one way we can do it. Submit them down below in the comments section. Don't go to the website anymore because the website's going to be going through some changes that I'll announce soon. And the other thing is this channel is basically going to be dedicated to just that added layer of research, where if you guys see a video elsewhere on the nether and you don't think they went deep enough, hopefully I've made a video on it and hopefully I've helped you in your journey. And maybe I provide a different perspective, maybe a negative perspective. And then if you look at the negative perspective and you say, Fabio had a negative perspective on that company, that strengthened my resolve because I'm now even more confident, because sometimes that can happen. And now you can go into that investment with the better psychology, right? Or I pointed out something that you never really thought of. And then you're like, oh, okay, that's actually a lot riskier than I thought. Maybe I'm being a little bit too aggressive in my assumptions, stuff like that. So that's the goal of this channel. And I'm not the answer. I'm not the way, guys might know what I'm referencing. And so I may be wrong about that company, but I'm going to be providing you my honest opinion, my honest research alongside you. And then, everything's going to be in the open. I like to do them alongside with you guys. So I learn about the company with you guys. Unless I do a deep dive, then I might prepare stuff ahead of time. So another thing I'll announce is, now I'll mention the website. So for those of you who have been waiting for the software or the tool, the stock analyzer tool, that one, I have a deadline now to give you guys, and it's going to be at the latest August 2022. Okay, so I've spoken with the developer extensively, and so we kind of settled on the date of August 2022. It will be fully ready. That is the deadline. And it may be ready earlier than that, but that's when it will be. And it will be a tool readily available for everyone to use through the website. And then the website itself will have a free access to information that in other websites you might have to pay for, but I don't understand really why. I'll be bearing the brunt of the cost of the API, basically setting that up. And then so you'll be able to look at financial information going back many, many, many years for free. I know a lot of websites charge for that, but I hope to build a website where people can come and then actually utilize the information there, and then, you know, do maybe their own research on it, or they can utilize our tools that I'll be developing and providing that I use at work, and then I'll be further developing as we go along. So that's the two things updated with the website and the model. It's coming August 2022 is the deadline. All right, and now for the final announcement, and that is the change in, I guess, the hosting. So Austin actually will be leaving us. So he's already filmed his final video with us, and he's not leaving permanently forever, you know. He's actually going to focus more on his career right now, because it's going to be very intensive. He's starting up something right now, very new. So it's going to be taking up a lot of his time. And unfortunately, he will not have time to dedicate to Capital Mindset at the moment. You may see him pop in a couple of videos here and there in the future, but on a more permanent basis, it'll just be me. And if you guys want to wish Austin good luck, you guys can leave that down in the comments. I'm sure he'll really appreciate that. And again, Austin, you know, he's not dead. Nothing bad happened. He's perfectly fine. So that's just a little bit of a change. All right, guys. So on that note, again, please feel free to go follow Strongman Personal Finance. He's going places with what he's doing. He's going to be the watchdog of the finance YouTube community. I'll be going on his show more frequently. He has a live stream every Saturday. I'll be going on there as a panel. If you guys have questions, you want to do it live, you guys can go watch his live stream, and then you guys can ask me a question in there if you want to ask, or if you don't want to ask, you just want to watch us talk about stuff, you can do that. If you guys like content like this, I want to say that there's going to be a different structure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing the stock recommendations that the users provide, right? It's not my recommendation, but requests. That's the better way to phrase it. The requests that users provide, I'll be doing one a day at least. And that's what my attempt is to do one a day at least. And videos like this, where they're extra, or stocks that I'm personally investing in, will not count as those videos. Those will be extra videos, right? And I'll do those here and there, but I'll do one a day of a request. And then I'll try to steer every request into form of a lesson. So if you watch the video and you're not interested in the company, you can still take away something from it, okay? And again, if you know someone who is interested in that company, I hope to have eventually a library of analysis then which you can utilize and send that to that person if you think it provides value, or it can serve as a base point for yourself in your own research and helps you on your journey to figure out whether or not you're going to be investing in that or not. And on that note, there's also one more point, I guess I could say, and that is over time, I'm going to be kind of segmenting the portfolio that I'm investing in into a Google Sheet. And I'm going to be releasing that at about 1,000 subscribers, okay? It won't have the dollar amount. I hope you guys can understand that. This is for privacy reasons. I'm not comfortable yet, but if you guys watch the videos long enough, or as many of the videos, you can kind of piece together the dollar amount at the end of the day, because sometimes in my mouth, I blabber around too much and I give up too much information. But on that, I will be updating it periodically once it's released, and it will showcase the portfolio and kind of the allocations. And I don't know exactly what time allocation I'm going to be doing and the updates on, but I'm thinking for now, maybe once a month or maybe once a quarter. I'm leaning more once a quarter. Comment down below if you have a preference, but I'm leaning on once a quarter just because it's less headache for me to kind of readjust things. You know, you'll be able to see every single position, and over time I'll go over all of those positions again on top of the stock requests that I will continue to always do forever. That'll be a big part of this channel. So if you guys like content like this, if you guys aren't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell notification so you're notified when a new video comes out. If you guys want to follow me on social media, I'm trying to become more active, but you know, I'm kind of doing a lot of things at the same time. So I'll be more active over time as I get the hang of things. But go ahead and follow me on social media if you guys want to. On Instagram, I think it's going to be more personal take. And then Twitter, I need to actually get better at using Twitter and announcing things, because that's a good place to actually announce when things happen, macroeconomics and stuff like that. And on that note, guys, I'm going to be seeing you guys next time on another video, most likely an analysis video that comes out on the same day as this. All right, guys, have a good one. Bye.